Hello, I'm Peaceful Nick the Medium. Welcome to another episode of Tips and Tricks with Peaceful Nick. Today, I'm not going to talk about mediumship necessarily, but I'm going to talk about a question I get a lot when I am doing my live readings, when I'm doing my one-on-one readings. I get this question from so many people. Will he ever love me? Will we get back together? Will he come back to me? And I have repeated the same information many, many, many times. Get a hold of your own trauma. Deal with your own past. Every time I say the same thing over and over again, we need to deal with our trauma. We need to deal with our issues. We need to get our past family stuff worked out to a degree that we can allow for a healthy relationship to occur. As most of you probably know, when you get into a relationship and you have unresolved family issues, and then you put another person in a relationship with unresolved family issues, you have two dysfunctional people who are going to bring that baggage into the relationship. And maybe she has a daddy issue and her dad left her when she was young, and she constantly is in fear that her husband is going to do the same or her partner is going to do the same. We have to deal with that trauma. We have to face it. We have to move through it. We have to understand that our past is not the current relationship. So we have to deal with that. And whatever that means for you, go to therapy, read a self-help book. Personally, I went to a lot of therapy. I read a lot of self-help books, and that helped a lot. So we also want to get our education and our financial life in order. So aside from the emotional and healing stuff, we also want to be independent. We never want to give over our financial freedom to someone else. No matter what type of partnership you're in, you always want to be able to take care of yourself regardless, because you don't know what's going to happen. You can be with the most perfect person and they might get an illness and no longer be available for you financially. They might decide to leave. Something might change. We can't predict the actions of other people because we have free will. So get your trauma in order, get your financial life in order, get your education. Please make sure you have access to education in some way in order to be employable. It's okay if you want to be a stay-at-home parent. That's totally fine. I'm down with that. I have nothing against that. But be able to have access to some financial stability if something happens in a future partnership, because you want to be able to have the safety of, I'll be okay if something doesn't work out or if something tragic happens. So we're healing our trauma, we're getting our education, we're dealing with our finances. We want to have a stable home environment to welcome each other into. So make sure you have all those things in line. And if you deal with your trauma and if you deal with all of your past stuff to a reasonable degree, nobody's ever going to be over everything. That's not going to happen. But to a reasonable degree where you're aware that you're not going to bring your baggage into your current relationship, you will attract like-minded people who are stable enough for you to start a relationship with. You want to attract the people who are vibrating at your frequency. You want to be able to discern, is this person going to be okay with me? Are we going to be okay together enough to where it's not going to be some big trauma bonded thing? We see a lot of trauma bonding in the media. We see a lot of couples who like fall in love and they're just so in love and everything's fantastic and they're all over social media and blah, blah, blah. And then 6 months later, it ends in disaster. And sometimes they even bring kids into it. And then there's that whole dynamic, which is unfortunate. So make sure you're not trauma bonding. Make sure you get your stuff together, you get your life in a reasonable order so you can attract the right person to you or be able to discern if that's the right person. So thank you for joining another episode of Tips and Tricks with Peaceful Nick. I love giving spiritual guidance. Please like, share, and subscribe. It's completely free and it helps me in the algorithm. Have a wonderful day.